So, hello everyone, and welcome to the Talking Stick Show. So, today I have a long life friend and a special guest on the show. So, we have Jamie Carle on the show. Hello, Jamie.
Hello, Dale. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing today, brother?
Glowing. Happy. Yeah.
Good, good. And it's a great honor to have you on the show as well. We've done a few Facebook Lives before and had a few chats, but this is the first time on the Talking Stick Show platform, so it's great to have you on.
It's an honor and a privilege. You would say it's an honor to have me, so I appreciate that.
And so the reason why, for all those out there, I've got Jamie on as well. He's got a lifetime experience from a young age of the bushcraft arts and the nature and the outdoors, blended in with spirituality as well. So this show is going to be really fun. If you're on YouTube, if you'd like to subscribe to the channel as well and put any comments down, I really appreciate the feedback as well. Facebook, just drop the page Symmetry Health a like as well. So, Jamie, tell the listeners a bit about yourself and what you do then, brother.
Okay, so last time you spoke to me, we were talking about what was coming up, and what was coming up was bow making courses. Okay, so this summer I've delivered a fair few bow making courses now. It's been wonderful. They've been fully booked. People have enjoyed coming along. And the customers or friends, because they're always the nicest people, come along. They get a raw piece of wood, what's called a bow stave. I'd love them to actually see the process of cutting a tree down and splitting it, but it needs time to dry. It just doesn't work out. But they get what's known as a bow stave, and then they craft a bow from raw material, and they walk away, with a bow. And they go through the whole process because there's different designs, there's different shapes, there's different bows store energy in different ways. So we want efficiency, energy efficiency, and they learn all kinds of things, and then walk away with a bow. And it's been very successful.
Outstanding. So, those people who haven't met you before or just first time tuning into you, so what got you into bushcraft and this idea of you going out and exploring nature? What was the catalyst for your change when you were younger?
Yeah, I mean that is a tricky one. If you were to, I've always said, if you were to ask me, I'd say I got into bushcraft when I was about 14, when I officially met a bushcraft instructor that took me under his wing. But if you were to ask my brother, he'd laugh at that and go, no, this guy's been playing with knives in the woods since he was a kid. I don't remember the day that I don't remember thinking, oh wow, the wilderness is cool or something like that. It's just sort of always been there. But when I was younger, I was heavily influenced by a family activity that we did. We were reenactors. We used to reenact the English Civil War, and there was lots of like cannons and reenact the wars. And but what kind of fascinated me was the cooking outdoors, seeing things done in a simpler way. Axe work, knife work, crafts, leather, all this stuff. And I'd be like, wow, that's cool. And I'd gather, I'd kind of like steal off my parents. Like, we had this room full of reenactment equipment, like bowls and cups and stuff like that. And I'd like squirrel away like a horn spoon or something like that, because I was just like, yeah, these natural things are like, really amazing. I loved them. So that's definitely, and we were camping out. We'd be camping out on a field next to the castle, wherever we were reenacting the historical event, and that had a big influence on me, big time.
Outstanding. And it's great that you've got this spiritual aspect about it as well, that there are a lot of bushcraft instructors, but not so much into the spiritual walking, talking. So what happened with the spirituality then? With you blending that into the bushcraft, I really like that. I like that the angle you're going down of understanding the importance of going out into nature, but there's that spiritual side. Let's talk about that spiritual side of it, Jamie.
Great question. You're right. There's a lot of bushcrafters out there, and there are a lot of spiritual people out there. And have we seen a spiritual bushcraft instructor yet? No, I don't think we have. Not that I'm aware of. I intend on, and it's going to be through social media mainly. It's not necessarily going to be a course you can book. But I intend on talking about what I call bushcraft of the mind, or you could call it spirituality. It's going to be neutral in the sense that it wouldn't favor a religion or a political agenda. I'd like to just to be as inclusive as possible, basically. But where I will definitely be discussing things that are of interest to me that enable us to look at our higher self and become, achieve greatness, excellentness, and I'm going to make that as inclusive as possible because I want as many people to enjoy that as they can.
Outstanding. So when you were younger, I remember you saying you were into Ray Mears when you were younger. So what type of things influenced you to get onto the journey of bushcraft? Was it just you were out in nature and kind of it all came together, or was there someone who influenced you to be able to do that?
Very good question. Always loved Ray Mears. I don't know what kind of a person he is. I've never spoken to him. He could be a really mean person. I don't know. But I'll tell you this, what he's done for the bushcraft community is probably one of the most fantastic things that has ever happened in the world, because he's been everywhere. If you think of MMA, which is mixed martial arts, right? He's been everywhere, and he's been with tribes. He's spent time with people and gone, right, they've got this down to a T. I'm going to take from that. I'm going to take from that. And he's put together what we call bushcraft in England. And I believe second to none. I really believe that the bushcraft survival schools in England are better than anywhere else in the world, because we did lose that connection. But when it's been reformed and, should we say, revived, we've got something amazing. Now, there's a guy called Moskahansky. He's the Canadian Ray Mears equivalent. He died not that long ago, and he's a wonderful, wonderful guy, but he still hasn't had the opportunities that Ray Mears has had with his filming and that kind of thing. So Ray Mears is a massive influence, and I think that he gets it right. He brings a certain structure, a certain intelligence, and some people are very sloppy in the woods. In the woods, we're just going to whittle this. He brings real skills to the table. So he was a big influence. But where was the where did Jamie's bushcraft come from, right? So at my school, I went to a boarding school, and that was actually a boarding school for people with dyslexia. So it's not like the privileged rich kid, although I guess I was privileged. And it was boarding school, and they had 32 acres of woodland, and with the River Wharfe running through it. And we had a guy called Mike Armstrong, who was a very skilled man. He was river rescue, mountain rescue, a paramedic, a bushcraft instructor, and many other things. An engineer, taught me knife making, and he just took me under his wing. He saw that I had a true interest, and he was a father figure to me. He is my bushcraft father. He died, I think, 2 years ago now. It might be just under, from cancer, quite young, 51 maybe. And but he was a father to me. He's my bushcraft father, and he set me on should we say, a structured path. Whereas before I had these interests in the woods, but he introduced that word bushcraft, and he had proper classrooms in the woods and proper ways of doing things. And I started to, see these, should we call them recipes for bushcraft, these ways of doing things, paradigm, whatever. And, he was a bit of a beast. He could be a very tough character, and he kind of scared me at times. He'd be like, why isn't your knife sharp? I don't have time to sharpen it. Okay, well, you're going to die. Or something like that. Like, I was a kid, like, whoa. And he kind of, he scared me a few times, even made me cry. But I tell you, when I go out and see other bushcrafters and stuff, and I see their sloppy behavior, should we say knife safety or something, I'm like, yeah, you know what, you were a bit mean, but you weren't wrong.
So that's interesting, that, Jamie, because what when you're speaking about that, let's talk a little bit about the whole school curriculum. And you had that chance, and that when you were growing up, to be able to go out and learn that. And it's, for me, I'd say, I don't like using the word sad, but I feel that's what the world, and a lot of changes need to be happened in the school communities, of getting the young people out in nature to be able to learn those skills of bushcraft. Because you were privileged to have that option of going out and actually experiencing nature, and you've got people like myself who go through school, and I didn't like school at all. I didn't like the work, but when you're outdoors or when you did some outdoors, I really enjoyed that, and a lot of people kind of really enjoyed that as well. So let's talk a bit about what's wrong really with the society today, and how important it is to reconnect to nature.
Sure. Well, the really good news is actually in this area, there are schools engaging with bushcraft. We're seeing, what's it called, Woodland School. We are seeing it happening. So for those that, you know, think it isn't, I would say, no, you're wrong. It might not be happening as much as you want, but we're definitely seeing groups of children that are getting their hands on bushcraft instructors. That is happening. Maybe you'd say that's happened to more privileged kids in more privileged areas, and that would be fair enough. But it is happening slowly, so that's good. Yeah, get kids out into nature. I guess a part of me would say though that, you know, it would be good if school could do that, but parents don't have to wait for schools to take their kids into the woods or even to an afternoon out somewhere, you know. So
Yeah,
don't get upset with the government. Just go do it.
that's it, and that's a very true statement. Is to sometimes we have to take responsibility for our own self, and we have to go out there and do it ourselves, and the government or schools or whatever won't do it. So it's up to us in our own time to go out and explore nature. For those who are listening and watching now who don't really go out into nature, I'd highly recommend for you to go out and just experience being in the outdoors, being in the woods. Me and Jamie have had a lot of time together in nature where we've had fires. Jamie's done fire by friction, and we've had some food and had some drinks, made some tea over the fire. It's an experience which creates such happiness within me and in Jamie as well, that when you go out into nature, you're really one with what's real and what is true. Let's talk a little bit about going out, and why is it beneficial from your perspective, Jamie, of having to go out there and do the natural living for a bit?
I'm just going to just quickly say something before I move on to that. I got some really good news for you all. Okay, you can go on my YouTube channel. You can pick any YouTube channel you want. There's loads of free bushcraft information out there. You know, people say, "Oh yeah, these rich millionaires could be paying for me to be on a course for 8 minutes." Yeah, they could do, or you could just go on YouTube, and you can watch
YouTube degree.
Yeah, really simple tricks out there. I have purposely put out videos there so people can do even something at home. And then guess what? Here's some other really, really cool news. Okay, the woods are for free. So maybe you can't have a fire on private land. Maybe you can find someone, but you can get out there and you can do something. That's the great news. Now that moves on to, you know, why should you get out into the woods? So a lot of people quote this these days. People are well aware now that there's been many studies that have shown that 20 minutes a day, X amount of time in the woods actually cures depression. It helps people with depression, depending on what level you're at, right? I have many reasons as to why that is. You might be into the law of vibration. People have said that the vibration of the woods is perfect, and that we obviously we're a molecular structure and we respond to that. You know, that's actually quite scientific. I can go for that. Not saying I necessarily, you know, there's a bit more studying to do there, but yeah, get out into the woods. If you want to be a happy chappy, get away from the television, get away from your computer, you know, whatever, get away from your naughty friends, and just go sit by the river in silence for half an hour, and you're going to feel good. You don't even need to know craft. Just go stand and stare at a river.
Outstanding. And so you're doing, whereabouts are you doing all your events and courses then, Jamie?
I am a lucky chap, actually, because I'm doing them down at a place called Action Zone. Action Zone are kind of in Starbeck, Harrogate, really. They're just I don't know if they're actually Harrogate or Nares, probably on the border. I don't know. And they're actually owns, this lovely chap actually owns a chunk of the Nid Gorge, basically, and I'm happy he does, because he looks after it well, and he's a good guy, and he puts it to good use. A lot of people get to share in that joy, and yeah, he has basically things like Laser Quest and just like, you know, stuff like axe throwing. And he does do a bit of bushcraft, but he wanted to sort of look into other areas, maybe more, what do you call it? Yeah, he wanted to look at things, you know, more. I'm gonna have to go to the door. I've got a delivery. Is that cool?
Absolutely fine. No worries, brother.
Can't do anything about it.
And so yeah, for those listening as well, I do appreciate you. If you're on YouTube, to please hit the subscribe button and comment, and any questions you want as well. All the details for Jamie as well is on the description. For those on Facebook Live as well, if you'd like a bit of interaction or any questions at all on the Facebook, I'm sure myself or Jamie can get back to you, or any details for that. So welcome back, brother. Like calls.
I'm here on my own, and do you know what? Maybe that leads into something cool, because it's some kit that's arrived for one of my next courses. Like I said, Rick down at Action Zone, and his son Sean were doing bits and bats, but they wanted to get into some maybe more advanced stuff. And one of the courses we're going to be delivering very soon, and I mean very soon, is knife making. Not knife like you know, combat knives or anything like that. You know, bushcraft knives, craft knives, because it's a key part of bushcraft. Like, it's your, you know, like a samurai is spiritual with sword. It's very much like that with a knife in bushcraft, because it's really the difference between life and death in a way, you know.
Outstanding. And now that's the same, Jamie, throughout the Native American and the spiritual practice. A knife has been part of culture for a very long time, part of society, and taking away from the fear and obviously the stuff about people getting stabbed, so on and so forth. It's going back to the reason why we actually made those knives, the craft of those, how you used them in that way. So let's go explore a little bit about the knife then, Jamie, from your understanding of it.
Okay, this is a knife, a very traditional styled knife. It's what we call a full tang knife, which means it's made out of one full piece of metal. So it has, you see, the metal runs right the way through here, and it's actually got wood glued on either side and then pinned. Okay, and they're actually really fancy pins on there if you can look. This is just for fun. This is called gun bluing. You know, guns are dark, it's stained. I just did that because I thought it looked nice. It didn't really need to be like that. This is rosewood. You got your lanyard hole there, that's brass. And this, you know, they say that your thumb should go past the middle of it. Anything longer is really for killing someone. This is, you know, you need to be in control of your knife. And longer knives, you know, you're not going to try and cut something like, you know, all the way up here. You know, you need to be able to do something. And this is an all-round bushcraft knife. It's a very thick knife. Actually, this is 4 mil of carbon steel, high carbon steel, which just means it makes it strong. And you can do all sorts. That means you can do something called battening, where you you can actually split wood with it. These are razor sharp, and when I say razor sharp, I mean sometimes it's not the most professional way to do it, but you know, you can shave the hair off your legs quite easily. And in fact, you've heard of a razor strop. You know, like you remember the old barbers stropping, like that's how you finish it. And then I do leather work, so I made this. It's 3 mil of leather, so in total 9. And because it has to be, you have to put that there. It's quite hard work actually. And then everything I do is oil finish. But anyway, this is not a murder weapon. Of course, it could be used as a murder weapon. So could your car. So could, you know, your Hoover if you hit someone hard enough with it. But it's been designed. Yeah, this has been designed to make your life easier in the woods and carry out a multitude of tasks. And that's all it is. It is a tool for helping you in the woods.
Outstanding. And so the wood, Jamie, you said rosewood. So why is it important to? So what about the wood with the handle? Is there any specific woods which work better or don't work as well?
Basically, hardwoods. So a hardwood, generally speaking, is a wood where, you know, the leaves come off in winter. It's a deciduous tree. They are stronger woods, so something like oak, maple, beech. These are tough, strong woods. You wouldn't really use a pine because it's softer wood and just wouldn't be as up to the job. So you can pretty much pick anything you want. I've even got some buffalo horn, that kind of thing. People use deer antler, just something tough, and that's it really. And you know,
I
So
might
you can
have to
pick.
get. I might have to get you to make me a knife, bro. That's especially when you say about the deer.
Yeah, I've got some good news. I will be doing custom knives, so
Outstanding.
that's going to be a thing.
Outstanding. So the training for all of this, you learning all of these skills, Jamie, what did you have to do get to learn it? Was there a specific bushcraft school you went to? How
Yeah,
did you train in all of this?
two parts. So there was Mike Armstrong at my school, and he did like a lot. You know, I mean, he was very skilled, passed over a great deal to me. But you got to remember, this was like a friendship. So, you know, days off, it wasn't like a, you know, like when you go to school and there's a structured lesson plans. But he did, you know, he really, really put me, you know, in a good position. Really managed to cram down my throat as many skills as possible. Knife making being one of them. So I think the first knife I made was when I was about 14 or 15. That's kind of, you know, that's a fair while ago now. And what happened was, it's funny actually, because there was some sort of youth club thing that I used to go to. They used to call me up, and the idea was that they would help you in the transition from school to maybe get you into college or whatever. And they're like, yeah, you need to go to college. And I'm like, but they don't do what I want to do at college. And they're like, yeah, have you thought about going to Asking Brian and doing, like, you know, I don't know, horticulture or something? Like, yeah, not really. And I just blurted out. I said, I want to be a bushcraft instructor. And luckily, she types it into Google, and it said, there it was, advanced bushcraft instructor course. I'm like, what? And then, funnily enough, it turned out that I'd already booked a bow making course with them that summer. So I was like, you know, ran home like, yo, mum, you know, I've got to get on this course. And mum was very supportive. We went all the way down to East Sussex for the interview, got me on the course. And in fact, I was the youngest person to do it because I was too young to go. I had to be 18 and I was still 17. So my mum she said, look, if I come as a chaperone for insurance reasons, can he start this year? And the chap, John Ryder, said, yeah, that's fine. So mum actually attended pretty much half the course of me, which was one solid week a month in the woods, and the rest was paperwork.
Outstanding. And so let's look
And then
into
add one into that. And then the guy that had been teaching me, Mike Armstrong, I'm his apprentice, I'm working with him. So I just had this absolutely perfect scenario where I'm in a proper college with proper lesson plans and, you know, that kind of thing. And then I'm going straight home back into instructing on Mike's courses. So it was just like the perfect scenario for a young man. And I'm very, very, very grateful to God for that one.
outstanding.
And of course, that made it happen.
Yeah. So what are your future plans then, Jamie, for going forward? What's on the agenda for you?
Well, I want to do more courses at the moment, really, and people are booking things like bow making, and sadly, they've not actually shown much interest in traditional bushcraft. But there are going to be some. So what I'm doing is, obviously, I am a businessman, right? I'm trying to make an income from this, so I just have to keep giving them what they want for now. So I'm going to have some follow-up courses to the bow making courses where they look at primitive things. So, like, I'm just going to get this bow for you here. So this is one of my bows. This is actually beaver fur. It's like a silencer if you just listen. It stops the bow from twanging. If you look on the back here, this has rawhide, which I know you're familiar with because of your drums. And that's on a wooden bow, okay? The rawhide makes the bow stronger. It means that you can put a shorter bow under more compression and tension without it breaking. So on modern bows, we'd see fiberglass. This is the primitive fiberglass. So we're going to be doing courses where they can learn bow backing, which is what that's called. They're going to learn about primitive bow strings because it's actually quite a thing. You can't just take any old string. There's a few things that need to happen in order to make a bowstring. Basically, there's things we have to look at, and then primitive arrow making. So that's going to be a 3-day course, like a follow-up one, which there's been a lot of interest for. And then towards the end of the year, we will have your traditional fire, water, shelter, food, bushcraft beginner courses, but they are harder to sell because so many people are out there doing it. And I'm just, one among many. But I will say this, people, and if it's not me or it's someone else, there are people just getting up one day and saying they're a bushcraft instructor because they went to Scouts when they were a kid or whatever. So make sure that you're picking someone reputable. And like I say, if that's not me, that's fine, but just make sure it's someone that there are qualifications out now, and make sure that these people at least have the basic qualifications, because people make things up.
What would you recommend? What's it like for ladies and Jamie in the bushcraft world? Because usually there's I'm sure there's more male people doing it. It's the same with the spiritual stuff I do and the classes I hold. It's the other way around, bro. It's girls. So it's like I've got 95% of my 98% of my clients are women, and with bushcraft, I'm sure it may be the opposite way. What's it like on that front?
I'll just comment on that. When I put out a message on my Facebook page, like report, you get a flood of women. They love it, and do you know why they love it, Dale? Because women are more righteous than men. I don't care what anyone says. I'm going to share. No, I'm not going to get into that, but they're just, you know what I mean. Women are great, and it's a shame that men aren't as in tune as them when it comes to things like being spiritual and loving and kind. Guys just want to go down the pub and drink a beer and get in a fight. I don't know what's wrong with them, but yeah, it is predominantly a male-dominated thing, bushcraft. But luckily, we are seeing women. In fact, on my last course, I had a woman come along, a lovely lady, and the one prior to that. And you know what, Dale? Because they don't have the same ego issues that men have, and because they are humble, and I would even say, in some ways, more skilled than us. Because I don't know. Be careful. I'm not trying to say they're better, but they are different. And they come along, and sometimes with males, they're like, "Oh yeah, well, I know you've been doing this for years, Jamie, but I'm going to do things my way." I had one guy, he kept doing it his own way, and guess what? He went home with, I don't even know what it was, but he wanted a bow. But the ladies, they don't have that. They go, "Okay, you're a bushcraft instructor. I'm going to trust you and do what you say." And as a result, they make fantastic bows. And they're fantastic with bushcraft because it does come from them having less ego and less like, "Oh, I know everything," and just being willing to say, "You're the instructor, teach me," sort of thing. And I know that sounds a bit like, I'm saying I'm the big, I'm just saying, I have practiced these skills and learned them off some fantastic people. And sometimes, men don't like being told, basically. And I'm not saying that's all of them, because there's some very humble gentlemen that come out. But every now and again, I'm one of those guys that's like, "Oh, I know better." You know what I mean? But women and bushcraft is a win, is what I'm going to say. There's some some women bushcraft YouTube channels, and it is a win-win-win. They are very, very cool. Come out. We need you. You change the courses. You stop guys talking about dumb stuff in the woods, because it changed the dynamics of the course. We love you. And I smile. I've got another young lady coming on my course on the next one, and I'm just excited to have her because she'll change the dynamics of the course. And I'm grateful for that.
And that's some of the stuff I work on and help people and work on myself with, is understanding that feminine, because you're talking about the feminine aspect of people and ladies and women. It's very good to have that, and bushcraft and being out in nature innately is about relearning and not having judgment, not having an ego, not having anything like that, and being able to just be, say, sensitive in a way, listening to people and not trying to change people's mind about things. And that's what I feel a lot of women have, is that aspect within them. A lot of men do, not so much all of them. You've got majority of the male society, I'd say, is, like you say, asleep in that regression that they have to be the man, they have to be the breadwinner, they have to be working in order to have some sort of maintenance of love. And it's a difficult situation, because we know how many male suicides there are in the world, how many men go through drug problems.
And I believe that the male is under attack by a demonic force, because he has been led astray, more so than woman, definitely. He's been led astray and letting the team down.
Yeah, and that's it, bro. And for me, I've gone through my own trials and tribulations of coming out the other side and realizing that it's so important to talk and be honest about everything. And I feel that the male expression has kind of lost that, because we've, if you think about our generations, our parents, say we had World War I, World War II, and it's always been that male dominated war coming down from the lineage. Then say if you were around in school, let's say 6 years ago when we were naughty, you'd get slapped and you get beaten up. That was the mentality. It was
I
until
don't mind.
now.
Enough.
Yeah, I've been slapped a few times at the School of Hard
Guy,
Knocks.
he gave me a bit of a beat down, and then he actually loved me and said, "Look, I'm in charge here, pal. But you're not working with me," and he became a hero of mine. So done
Yeah,
correctly.
there you go. So that
I was like, ah.
and that's it. And we've gone to the past. I spoke about this on the last show. Was mental health didn't exist 20 years ago. It didn't really exist 30 years ago. It's only started to exist now that people are understanding that people have needs, requirements, and this is why bushcraft, going out in nature, is so important, because it feeds who you are as a person.
I mean, just I want to say two things about the woman thing before we move away from there. I'm actually going to be doing a few videos on this, but women, okay, like obviously as a male, many of my influences are male. I model myself on my heroes, right? Makes perfect sense. And I'd say, the vast majority of them are men, okay, but I'm a collage. Remember as kids, we put a collage together, but do not make any mistake about it. Some of my collage of who I am is female influence. And sometimes I will say something or do something in a certain way. I go, all right, I call her Mama, like, oh, that was Mama Cheryl, and because I love the mamas. If you want to see a godly person, go talk to a grandmother that's got it right, and you will speak to something like an angel. That's a fact. Lots of old ladies where I live in Bowyer Bridge, when I sit and listen to their stories, I love to talk to them, and they love being talked to. And I just think these are very impressive women. So yeah, I do think that I'm very grateful for female influences in my life that have inspired me and are part of my character. And I will say this, and I really, really believe this. I'm a single man. I don't really wish to be single, but I also don't want to be in the wrong relationship. So
Ladies out there.
I've been reading a lot on this by a chap called Napoleon Hill at the moment, which is a wonderful chap. And I think the ladies would really love what he has to say. But I do not believe I'll ever be able to achieve the fullness of me and be the greatest version of myself without a female in my life, because they well, for me anyway, they have a massive influence. And there's a little part of me there just waiting to be switched on with the right relationship. So, and like I say, but be clear on that. And this chap Napoleon Hill and certain religious would agree with me that you will never achieve the fullness of God without engaging in a healthy relationship and growing in that love. I mean healthy, because there are toxic relationships out there that kill you. So that's what I have to say on ladies. I got a lot to say on ladies, actually.
And it's interesting because saying back in the so there was a nation called the Kokopelli Nation, which were a Native American group. I think there was about 100 million or 90 million of them. It was one of the first Native American groups formed long before they got taken out. And basically they had a group of elders on the council, and they were all women. So the people that didn't have a government or anything like that, but they had a council of people who made choices for part of the people. They had like a vote, and everyone came together in ceremony and stuff. And that was all the grandmothers. So they were the ones making the decisions. And that's one of my appreciations of the feminine aspect of people and ladies, is that grandmother energy, like you said, like some of those exceptional grandmothers who have been through so much and they've got that feminine aspect to them.
They fully seasoned feminism there. Do you know what I'm saying? Because it's the end of their life. They've gone through the trials. They've put up with a husband and raised these kids. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'll just mention this to me. So my dad was somewhat of a businessman in the sense he didn't have multiple businesses. He just had, he had hair salons over his life. Started out as a DJ, right? Multiple occasions. Okay, my dad wasn't particularly a spiritual guy. Didn't really have many beliefs like that, but he used to advise me, and he had such a stern look on his face when he's drilled it into my head because he used to say, "Look, Jamie, when I run businesses, they do not get men to help you." He said, "Ask a woman." He said, "They'll be kinder, they'll be nicer, they do a better job." He said, "Look, just surround yourself with women because men are just crap, basically." I don't know if I quite agree with that, but he just said, like, if you're ever in trouble or anything like that, he said, find a woman because they'll look out for you, basically. And he even used to say, because he was divorced from my mom, he used to say, "Look, my business never ran the same ever again when I left your mother." He said when she was around, everything was, all cylinders running. And I hope that didn't come out wrong, like, hey, get a woman to do it for you, because he wasn't saying that. He was
I feel like putting James Brown on now, bro. This is a man's world. This is a man's world, but it means nothing without a woman's touch. Have you heard that? Do you know that song?
Yeah, no, but maybe. But
I'll have to send you it.
I must say, I never really listened to my dad. I went against the grain with him a bit, but just over life, I was like, oh, do you know what? That bit of advice was right, because women are a lot more approachable and just nice, and I think.
Outstanding, bro. And it's the importance of understanding as well within ourselves hold the sacred feminine, and even male. I feel that's one of the hardest things for them to get in contact with themselves is their feminine side to themselves, where they're that nurturing, that loving side, that listening side. And it's great to see there are quite a few men's group out there at the moment, and yeah, it's great to have that you've been doing these courses because it is bonding. So say if you go get a bow making, a knife making, you have time with more than likely males. So you're being around them and you can share stories with them and you go through a bit of an experience with them and have that brotherhood vibe as well. And I feel that's important for some people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. There is actually a woman's bushcraft group on Facebook for any ladies out there. And I can't remember what it's called, but my mum's in it. So there is one. Just put like women bushcrafts and I'm sure it'll come up. So it's growing. I'm happy that it's growing.
Outstanding, bro. And so let's go into a little bit about fire by friction then. Let's talk a little bit about that and that process, because that's very popular and people are really wanting to explore the natural ways of making fire.
It is popular, but no one's booking the course on that one. So it's not going to be around much longer, I don't think, just because there is no demand for it, which is really sad. It'll be in some other course at some point. But yeah, wow, fire by friction. So there are so much spiritual messages that can be taught from the techniques and what needs to happen in fire by friction. I can take you, and maybe we'll do a video on it. I'll take you into the woods and show you exactly what type of wood we need to use, what kind of state it needs to be in, how to process it and actually make the fire by friction. It's called a bow drill set, where you've got the bow, the drill, a little bearing block, the half, and actually get that going, create an ember, put that ember into the tinder, blow it and put it into a fire. And then even the fire lay is not, you've seen me light fires, and it's not just something we make up as we're going along. There's a precise way of doing it if we want to have success, every time. And I must say, once you get those principles in place, you're pretty much guaranteed success every time. And that's not me being cocky going, I'm good. It's me saying, oh, wow, I'm happy I followed those principles that were taught to me. And I mean, isn't that life? There are so many, I call them recipes out there. And if we adhere, there's these teachers out there, like maybe you've read that book, 5 Good Languages. Yeah, okay, follow it. This is an application-based thing. Follow what the dude's saying, do it, and it's gonna work. So you're gonna be able to love someone properly and feel love and all that kind of thing. So you do that in the woods. Everything just has a recipe, and if you follow it and you can apply yourself to it correctly, you get these amazing results that work every time. Of course, you're working with natural materials, so something can happen where it's maybe rotted in a certain way, you won't get the result you want. But generally speaking,
and yeah, it's great that as well, because that's what they do in the cultures of the Native American traditions as well. I follow a lot of traditions and teachings from the Native Americans, and their elders and their grandmothers, grandfathers used to teach them how to make fires in any condition possible. And that was, say, now you think, oh, it's dry, oh, I can't make a fire, but back then, if it was wet, windy, and everything, they were able to just innately go back to that natural state of manifesting that sacred fire.
Well, my comments on that is, it's something that kills me. Every now and again, I'll be with a friend that likes to get out in the woods, but they're a bit of a novice to the subject. That's not me trying to be rude, just pointing out the situation I find myself in. And they go, oh, well, we can't go. And I go, why? They go, well, it's been raining, we won't be able to light a fire. And I'm like, well, no, it isn't an issue. Like, again, there are tricks of the trade. There are areas where wood will always be dry. For example, if you split wood, well, the water doesn't get to the core. You know what I mean? That's going to be dry. Usually, you've seen me do it on the inside of trees, on the pine trees. There's always bits that come off, and you hear. I've said to you in the past, I said, Dale, you want to hear that sharp crack sound, dry crack. Even most bad weather, it will do that. Of course, there's a few exceptions, but snow, rain, whatever. People definitely, you don't need fair weather. You follow the principles instead, and you will get fire. You just need to learn it. There's a bit. It's a 50-50 thing. There's some theory going on. You need to learn the theory, the principles, and then the application. Combine the two, boom, you're sorted.
Outstanding. So we're going to have to wrap the show up. So how can people get a hold of you, Jamie, and everything? And what's your website or pages?
My website and Facebook. So I am Bowyer Bushcrafter. Bowyer is someone that makes bows. We could get into that. Another reason why I decided to go with that name. But the bow has been pivotal to my bushcraft journey. And Bowyer Bushcraft. And we've got courses for next year now. So let me know.
Outstanding, brother.
Go pretty quick. They do go quick, so.
Yeah, they do, and really, really utmost respect for you and what you're doing, man. And it's great that you've got such a great location, and it's all synchronicity come into play, everything about what you're doing. So you can really see that, mate. You can really see the authenticity in what you're doing, and that's really something to be happy about.
Oh, thanks for letting me come and talk, because is a favorite subject of mine, and I love you lots.
I love you too, brother. And we'll have to, at some point, we'll have to do something together. I really feel that's down in the cards, because it would be nice to kind of blend the ceremonial stuff to the outdoor and kind of cross it over a little bit.
Yeah, we need to make that happen in some sort of thing. Winter is very spiritual to me for some reason, and we could definitely do something spectacular in the woods. We could make a really cool video.
We could. And yeah, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you, Jamie. And thank you everyone for watching as well. So we'll be back next week with, I think we've got Hayley Trezise next week, and we'll be talking about death and grieving as well. So my father passed away a month ago, and her father passed away. So we're going to be really talking about that and going into the trials and tribulations about grieving. So thank you again, brother, and everyone. Thank you for watching, and you all have a great day.